You have questions? We have answers. Welcome to the Therapist Question Box with your host, Miss Lindsay Schiss.
Welcome back to the Therapist Question Box, where we are here to answer your relational and mental health questions. Today I have with me Whitney Evans, who I am grateful is joining us. Thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me.
And today we're going to be talking about a topic that affects a lot of us. It is about parenting, and specifically parenting adult children. And so Whitney, I'm happy to have you here with us. I know you yourself are a mother of how many adult children?
4 adult children.
Okay.
1 getting closer to being an adult child.
Okay.
So 5 total.
Wow. So you are in the mix of this. You're a resident expert because you're dealing with it at home.
I'm getting my PhD.
There you go.
In adulting, parenting adults.
Yes, I love that. So let's just launch into the question and we'll get started. So the question is, my young adult child is struggling to find their path in life, and I want to help without overstepping. How can I provide guidance without making them feel pressured or dependent on me? And so as I'm hearing this question, I think, boy, this is a challenge. I mean, this is an earnest parent that wrote in saying, how do I guide without overstepping? How do I be involved while respecting autonomy? These are hard questions.
Yeah.
And turns out none of us have usually done it before we have an adult child, right?
Can we just take a second and just pause on that question and just notice what that feels like to hear somebody else's question that we can all relate to?
Yeah.
As parents of adult kids.
Yeah.
Just notice the pressure, the worry, and really ultimately the fear in that question.
Yeah. Can you tell me a little bit the fear when you said ultimately the fear? Why do you see and hear fear in that question?
Yeah. There's a lot of pressure as parents. We become parents overnight, so to speak. That baby or that toddler, that elementary school child, teenager, whenever they come into our life, however old they are, we immediately become a parent.
Isn't that amazing? It's amen.
Yes.
And
we had no teaching skills, right? We know how to be pregnant because we've read all the books, right? We know how to prepare for conceiving a child because we did all the research and work and study. But how often do we, after becoming a parent, immediately feel like we have parenting skills?
I think we don't.
We don't.
Which is why we lead with fear.
All we have is a car seat in the car.
Yeah.
And interestingly enough, that's all we're required to have.
Crazy.
To take a baby home from the hospital is a car seat.
Right.
Nobody checks in on our capacity, our skills, what we know, what we don't know. And so that automatically comes with a sense of fear.
Yeah.
Whether we recognize it or not, whether we're conscious of it or not, it's there to a certain level.
And doesn't it make sense? No wonder we're afraid.
Yeah.
Hi, here's a child.
Yeah.
Figure this out.
Yes.
I mean, it's like we need degrees. We get certificates for graduating from preschool and high school and college.
I had to get a license before I drove a car.
Right.
I needed to study and practice and prove my skills before I could drive a car. And here I am taking home a baby without having to prove my skills at all, except for that I got a car seat.
Right. And that this is a life that is in your hands, right? So it was what I'm hearing that fear doesn't necessarily change as they grow older. There is still that fear, and maybe it just evolves into different types of fear.
Yes.
Would that be correct?
Yes, I agree with that. And oftentimes with that fear comes a sense of shame that I'm not good enough. If people really knew how I was inside and outwardly as a parent, right? And we forget that it's okay to need to have some skills to be a parent, that we don't automatically come ready to be a parent. Some people think it ought to come naturally. I ought to be able to deal with this child, with this experience, with the responsibility of a human life naturally. And if I don't, something's wrong with me. But here's the truth. Dr. Becky Kennedy tells us that the only thing that comes naturally to us as parents is the way we ourselves were parented.
Oh boy. Really? Wow. I think, can you say that one more time? Because I think that's so important.
Yeah.
That the only thing that comes naturally to us as parents is the way we were parented.
Yes.
Okay. So
Yeah.
what does that mean? I mean, that
Right?
feels like,
Well,
oh boy.
For many of us, that's a real struggle because I didn't perhaps love the way that I was parented.
Right.
And I've tried really hard to parent differently, right? Maybe there's great things about my parents, and there were a lot of things that I wish were different in my parenting.
Yeah.
There's a few lucky ones of us that say, hooray, I won the lottery, I got the great parents, and it comes naturally to me because the way we were parented becomes like cellular, right? It's just in us. To parent that way.
Yeah. It makes me think, as you say that, my daughter, who is now 20, and when she transitioned to adulthood at 18, which also is kind of crazy to me, but whatever, that I said to her, I've never done this before. Like, I'm sorry. I'm trying to figure this out. This is my first time. Like, I honestly am just trying to figure it out. And it is helpful and validating to hear you say that because I grew up with, my mom passed away when I was 17 and my dad was very much a weekend dad. And so his parenting as I grew into a young adult was very minimal. And I